Hi, today I was browsing through r/collapse. It's a subreddit that kind of shows people what might be going wrong with the world and what might ultimately lead to societal demise. And I found this one post that was, fairly interesting, and I felt that I might, update you guys on it and then proceed to update you guys on any future updates as well. But in this particular post, you can see viruses hitchhike on microplastics. Microplastics, of course, being sort of a focal point of interest, but it's quite clearly a bad crossover event. So microplastics are present in a wide variety of different materials, a lot of which we actually consume, and obviously consuming anything that has viruses on it is not going to lead to anything positive at the end of the day. If you go ahead and read, for example, this comment here, it references a statement in the article that says, quote, "By testing polystyrene particles of varying size, we found that more than 98% of E. coli virus was used that was found on microplastic, and over half of the viruses could be detected 10 days later, much longer than if the virus particles were free floating in the water." So essentially the microplastics allow the viruses to have a longer period of time when they can actually live on a substrate. And then the explanation for this is just yet another example of bad things combining to become extraordinarily bad. Of course, microplastics combined with an increased focus on viruses, now these two have a relationship that's not going to be positive. The interconnections are mind-boggling. We have microplastics killing ecosystems from the bottom up, human expansion killing them from the bottom down, higher CO2 and microplastics/chemical pollution leading to ocean acidification, and that lowers the ocean's ability to absorb CO2, so now microplastics are perpetuating viruses, which are already increasingly dangerous due to animal territory loss, climate migration, refugeeism, etc. So essentially, there is some sort of unfavorable reaction between microplastics and viruses. And as both microplastics and viruses are becoming issues of increasing size, this is not going to be anything positive. One thing that I think is important to note is that, which user is it? I believe it's this user here, Snowlights, mentions the properties of plastic also mean that heavy metals, so things like lead and whatnot, and nasty things like persistent organic materials like DDT, PCB, and HCHs absorb onto the microplastics very well. So this isn't only a virus-specific thing, but the microplastics can actually accumulate other heavy metals and organic pollutants that could otherwise adversely impact health and health conditions. And then within the article itself, a couple things I wanted to note. Number one, the doctor right here, Dr. Liu, just indicates the virus carrying microplastics could be a big issue. So there is the recognition, even by the doctors that conducted this study, that this is an issue. It's not just something that they noted or something that happened to come up during the study that wasn't of major concern. But then here's the quote that really stood out the most to me, and it's, quote, "The required dosage to be infectious to humans varies between different types of viruses, but there could be instances where the dosage is enough on a microplastic to cause potential infection." So basically this means that microplastics themselves can absorb enough of a virus to actually cause infection in somebody who later ingest that same microplastic. And since microplastics are becoming increasingly common in the things that we actually ingest, this is going to be obviously a large issue. And as viruses might grow more complex or more deadly, then of course that issue is going to compound. So these are some of the things that I noticed today. That's just kind of going to accelerate any collapse that we could expect. and I'll be sure to update you guys on anything I notice in the future as well. Thanks.